Good evening. Call to order this May 18th meeting of the Winston-Salem City Council and ask the City Secretary to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson.
Virtually present.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Bessie.
Here.
Councilmember Scipio.
Present.
Councilmember Adams.
Here.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the city ordinance regarding remote participation and due to a declared state of emergency, I've determined that it's not feasible for the city council and me and others to be here physically tonight. So therefore, the city council will be representing their wards virtually, and we'll move forward with that. For virtual meetings, council members will be muted until they are asked to be heard. And when there's a vote, there'll be a roll call on each one of the votes. Council member will be recognized and they can be asked to state their vote. Folks, as we move towards our moment of silence tonight, we must pause, of course, and remember our colleague that's no longer with us here. Council meeting, Councilmember Vivian H. Burke and Mayor Pro Tem served this city for 43 years and elected capacity representing the Northeast Ward. And of course, we will miss her dearly. Council members, you can't see, I don't think tonight, but there is a beautiful vase of flowers at Councilmember Burke's spot. And as we read a resolution later on, I think the TV 13 cameras will show that as well as her picture. So as we also go into the moment of silence, we should remember our good friend Larry Womble, former alderman and representative for our city. Mr. Womble passed away this past week as well, and two giants in our community, two leaders in our community who both had strong voices for the disadvantaged to use their voice to speak up for those individuals who did not have a voice. So please join me and the City Council in a moment of silence. But before we get into the agenda, we do have a resolution from the National League of Cities. I'll ask Ms. Kennedy to read that into the record, please.
Resolution in loving memory of the Honorable Vivian Burke from the National League of Cities. Whereas the National Black Caucus of local elected officials and women in municipal government constituency groups of the National League of Cities lost a valuable member and leader May 5th, 2020, with the passing of Councilwoman Vivian Burke. And whereas we, the officers and members of the National Black Caucus of local elected officials and women in municipal government, express our sympathy to the family during the passing of Councilwoman Vivian Burke. And whereas Councilwoman Vivian Burke was diligent and outspoken advocate of the disenfranchised in the city of Winston-Salem. And whereas Councilwoman Vivian Burke served for 43 years on the Winston-Salem City Council. And whereas Councilwoman Vivian Burke captured the essence of being an enlightened public servant for the city of Winston-Salem. And whereas Councilwoman Burke inspired countless local elected officials and mentored them to become effective leaders. And whereas Councilwoman Vivian Burke served with excellence as a member of both the NBC, LEO, and WIMG, and had a lifelong commitment to bringing local government to the people. And whereas Councilwoman Burke was an enthusiastic supporter of the National League of Cities. Now, therefore be it resolved that the National Black Caucus of local elected officials and women in municipal government, on behalf of its members, recognizes the remarkable achievements of Councilwoman Vivian Burke and gratefully acknowledges her many contributions to local government and extends its sincerest condolences to her friends and citizens in the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Certainly thank the National League of Cities for this resolution. Councilmember Adams, I know you're on that board. Would you like to offer a comment?
Yes, I think a lot of city of Winston-Salem, as well as maybe some of the council members, Mayor Pro Tem Burke was very well known in the National League of Cities. Countless leaders now and present came under her wing. The amount of people that responded emails about how she had poured into them at the conventions that she attended for over 40 years. Very well respected on the boards of the NBC Leo, Wimage. Councilmember Scipio is a board member there. And as well as the North Carolina Black Municipal Elected Officials. She helped to found that along with Representative Wumble. So what we would do, as they say, we would carry on. But I just hope that people realize that she did leave an indelible mark on this place, this country, this state, and this city. And we thank her for her leadership and her service.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. I want to point out to the audience, this meeting is being televised live tonight on TV 13. Be replayed on Tuesday at 9 a.m. and again Wednesday at 9 p.m. Of course, copies of our agenda as well as videos of previous meetings are always available online at the city's website, www.cityofws.org, and select the city government menu and click on the watch meetings online option. May we have item H1?
Item H1, proclamation declaring May 17th, 23rd, 2020 as National Public Works Week. Whereas the city of Winston-Salem is a sustainable community that depends on public works infrastructure to ensure our health, safety, and well-being. And whereas public works professionals, engineers, managers, and private sector employees plan, design, build, operate, and maintain transportation, water supplies, sewage and refuse disposal systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential to serving our people. And whereas our community is safer and individuals and families can enjoy the quality of life that makes the city of Winston-Salem special because of the dedication of public works professionals. And whereas the city of Winston-Salem joins the American Public Works Association and other interested agencies and organizations in recognizing the contribution of public works professionals to the health, safety, and welfare of the city of Winston-Salem. Now, therefore, I, J. Allen Joines, Mayor of the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim May 17th through the 23rd, 2020 as National Public Works Week, given under my hand and seal this 18th day of May, 2020.
Thank you. Obviously, we will not be able to present it directly tonight, but we'll do it at a later time. Recognize Councilmember Bessie, Chairman of the Public Works Committee. Would you like to add anything, Councilmember Bessie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just note that this is a particularly timely moment for us to remember the contributions of the dedicated staff people in the various public works departments. They have kept the sanitation services going. They have kept the water and sewer going. They've kept our transit system going under the greatest pressure. And we're reminded every time that our trash is collected or our water comes on, or we should be reminded that those services are matched only by the public safety services as the most necessary of work done by any municipality. And we cannot do that work without the dedicated men and women who do it day in and day out for the citizens of our city and people beyond Winston-Salem around Forsyth County. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bessie. Good remarks. Tonight's agenda is comprised of two parts, the general agenda and the consent agenda. Of course, it's always the practice of this council to take the consent agenda as the first order of business. Items on this agenda will be enacted with one motion unless a council member so requests that an item be removed for individual consideration. Council members, are there any items you would wish to have pulled from the consent agenda?
C18.
All right.
C3 and C13 is basically a COVID update of what we're doing.
Okay. May I get a motion on the balance?
I'll move approval on the balance.
Second.
Councilmember Clark moves, Councilmember Scipio seconds that motion. I now need to do a roll call. Councilmember Larson,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio,
Yes.
and who did I leave out?
Dee Dee.
Sorry, Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous. I do have a little cheat sheet, but I forgot it today, so I had to think about who's sitting where. So thank you very much. We'll go now to item C3.
Item C3, consideration of items regarding acceptance of CARES Act grant funds and execution of agreements with local homeless service provider agencies, recommended by Finance and Community Development, Housing, and General Government Committees.
Councilmember Adams.
Yes, Mayor, I think it's important, and members of the council, whenever we now have these type items in our agenda item, I think it's good if staff will just give us a short update on what this really means for the community and the city's involvement with the COVID.
Thank you. You wanna have staff do that tonight, Councilmember Adams?
Just very
Briefly.
short. Yeah.
Okay, it does.
That could be Ms. Logan Ford or Ms. Newman.
Yeah, whoever's available.
Or
Ms.
Mr.
Newman
Gary.
on the call.
Good evening, Mayor Joines, members of council. I would ask Ms. Newman, our Community Development Director, if she would provide an update for item C3, please.
Good evening, Mayor Joines, members of the City Council. I'm Marla Newman, Community Development Director.
Good evening.
An update on the CARES Act funding. The CARF that is before you includes $660,748 of emergency solutions grant money for COVID, as well as an allocation of $1.3 million of CDBG COVID funding. The ESG money is specifically to assist with persons who are experiencing homelessness. What we are proposing is that we use the entire $660,748,000 along with a portion of the CDBG dollars to assist us with providing case management services, as well as assistance to persons, again, experiencing homelessness, to help them with rapid rehousing, as well as housing case management, and then direct assistance to those individuals as well to help them transition into more stable housing environments. Along with this process, any allocations of the funding to local groups has to go through a three-step process through our continuum of care. Our continuum of care called a series of emergency meetings to consider this allocation from HUD so that we could actually make recommendations to you tonight on how the money should be allocated. What we have done is broken the allocations into two particular pots. One is for direct client financial assistance, and then the second pot is for staff support services to actually aid in the case management and placement of persons into more stable housing situations. So the pot for direct assistance is approximately $785,998, and then the remaining that provides services to each person is $174,000 for a total of $959,998.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. Councilmember Adams, you ready for a motion?
Yes, I move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second to approve that. Any discussion?
I just want to make one point,
Yes.
Mayor, again, that our citizens can see now how crucial funding support is becoming for cities. And this is one of those cases where the city and other organizations and partners are helping to make sure that the fragile population, our fragile populations, are being serviced as well as everyone else. And I want to thank Assistant Manager Logan Ford and Director Ms. Newman for working diligently with Continuum of Care, City Without Dwellings, and other agencies, shelters, Bethesda, Samaritan United Way, and all the rest of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Go roll call now. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie.
What, pardon me?
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we'll go to item C13.
Item C13, resolution authorizing establishment of a temporary COVID-19 shelter for persons who are experiencing homelessness and medically fragile and funding to support the operation thereof, recommended by Finance and Community Development, Housing, and General Government Committees.
Councilmember Adams, I assume you want a similar presentation?
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Newman, could you give us a quick summary of this item?
Yes, sir. As part of our response to COVID, there is particular concern for persons, again, experiencing homelessness who in particular have chronic underlying conditions that could potentially get them at greater risk of a poor health outcome were they to contract COVID. One of the recommendations through FEMA is that persons who are considered medically fragile, that they be allowed to self-isolate and be removed from the congregate setting that you often find in our shelters. To that end, we have worked with the local hotel proprietor to set aside up to 60 rooms to address the self-isolation needs of a group of people who have been considered chronically homeless. As of today, at that hotel, we currently have 53 individuals who are seeking shelter there. And we expect that by the end of the week, we should have our census at approximately 58. And that is a combination of single men, single women, and one couple. This shelter, we have to, right now expect to operate for upwards of 60 days. And if need be, we may have some flexibility to go a little longer. This funding that we're using, however, is tied to FEMA reimbursement. And so that ability to achieve FEMA reimbursement will also play a role in how long we're able to operate the shelter. We're looking for a maximum, however, of 90 days at this point in terms of operating the shelter.
Thank you, Ms. Newman. Any questions, Ms. Newman? Thank you. Councilmember Adams, you ready for a motion?
Yes, I am. Members, Mayor, members of the council, I move for approval.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Roll call, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh. Councilmember McIntosh. Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. Go to item C18. Okay. What's that? McIntosh is off. He's back on. Councilmember McIntosh, can you? Aye. You vote aye. Thank you. Item C18.
Item C18, resolution electing the 2020 inductees for the Winston-Salem Arts, Culture, and Entertainment Memorial Walk of Fame, recommended by Community Development, Housing, and General Government Committee. Inductees are Maya Angelou, writing; George Lee, radio television; John S. Mueller, music; Penelope Niven, writing; and Alvin A.C. Stowe, radio.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and fellow members, I just wanted those names recognized because our city is rich in the arts. 71 years ago, we established the very first arts council in the nation. And now we have this Memorial Hall Walk of Fame. I think this is wonderful, and our residents need to be mindful that the arts play a significant role in the culture of this city. And so that's why I wanted the names read, Mr. Mayor. With that, Mayor and members of the council, I move for approval of this.
Second.
Second. The second, any discussion? All right, go to the roll call. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to the general agenda, which is comprised of the following items. There's an item related to the acquisition of a vacant lot at 701 Salem Avenue, an item related to the City Council's 2020 meeting schedule. There's an item amending the city code, There's a motion to add 2 items to the agenda tonight, which is one is a resolution stating the city of Winston-Salem is essential in its support of fair, direct emergency support to reopen and rebuild local American communities, and a item related to committee assignments and mayor pro tem position. May we have the first items, Kenny?
Item G1, resolution authorizing acquisition of a vacant lot at 701 Salem Avenue for construction of the city yard stormwater retention prevention project located in the East Ward. Finance Committee forwarded this item without a recommendation.
This item did come without a recommendation, as was said. There was some additional information provided. Are you comfortable now? And if so, I recognize Councilmember Clark, if you'd like to make a motion to get us started.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll go to the roll call. Councilmember Larson,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie,
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio,
Yes.
Councilmember Adams,
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh,
Aye.
and Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, item G2.
Item G2, consideration of Winston-Salem City Council's 2020 regular meeting schedule.
There's a couple of changes there in terms of times for our budget hearings, as well as going to a July 6th meeting that we would typically not have. Any discussion? If
Mr.
not,
Mayor?
I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
can I ask a comment, please?
Yes, Councilmember Clark.
And I don't know if Mr. Rao or Ms. Tony are on tonight, but if somebody could comment on the meeting this Thursday at 3 o'clock, what will take place and what we're going to go over, please.
I know Mr. Rao is available.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor Joines, members of the City Council. On Thursday, May 21st, the City Manager will release his proposed budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. The City Council Finance Committee will hold the first of 3 budget workshops at starting at 3 o'clock on this Thursday. The first workshop will really be an overview of the operating budget and the capital plan. And then in the upcoming budget workshops, there will be further discussion by council about different elements of the budget, including community agency funding. There will also be a Finance Committee public hearing on May 28th as part of that meeting. And then at the council's regular meeting, there will be the full City Council public hearing on the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Any other points, Mr. Clark?
Yes, thank you. I'll move approval if you need a motion.
Yes.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further
Mayor, I've got a couple comments.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Yeah, just quickly, on the 21st, we have a Transit Advisory Committee meeting that will overlap with this. And then also on the 28th, North Carolina League of Municipalities has their virtual summit that will overlap. So we'll just have to work around those.
Good point. Thank you, Councilmember McIntosh. Any other discussion? All right, going to the roll call. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
And Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. We have item G3.
Item G3, ordinance amending Chapter 2 entitled Administration of the City Code relating to remote participation in meetings.
The General Assembly did adopt some more specificity regarding these items, and I would recognize our city attorney, Ms. Carmen, to tell us what changes we had to make in our remote meeting ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. What you have before you is an ordinance amending Chapter 2 to incorporate the provisions of Senate Bill 704 as it relates to remote participation. I'm going to briefly go over those changes. Basically, Senate Bill 704 requires City Council for public hearings to indicate that comments will be received until 24 hours after the public hearing. So that's a new provision, which we actually had started incorporating to the process as of May 4th. Additionally, Senate Bill 704 for quasi-judicial proceedings require the consent of all parties having standing written consent to proceed remotely. One of the other provisions made clear by Senate Bill 704 is that council members participating remotely can be counted for purposes of determining a quorum as long as communications is maintained. So if for some reason you terminate communications or there's a technical problem, at that point it's been determined there's a technical problem and you're no longer present, then you will be counted as not being present and you will not be able to vote until such time as it can be established that your communications have returned. And if an item has been voted upon, in order to vote on that item, then you have to have a motion for reconsideration by someone on the prevailing side. So it's very important to make sure your communications are maintained at all times. That's a general summary.
Thank you. Thank you, City Attorney. Are there any questions of Ms. Carmen?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Bessie.
Thank you very much. Ms. Carmen, I'm sorry, this was a later addition to the agenda, and I hadn't had a chance to review the specifics of the attached ordinance prior to the weekend. I did have two questions. One, well, the first one, let's take that one. I did not see any reference in the ordinance as it was attached to the agenda item that about the 24-hour written comment submission. Can you tell us where that is located in the proposed ordinance revision?
It is in B1. It's referenced generally. You'll see in B1 the reference to General Statute 168-19.24, which is the provision that pertains to the 24-hour comment period.
Okay, so that's in the language. Was that a revision after the initial submission, or did I just fail to notice it?
It should be the one that was submitted to you.
All right, I'll go back and double check.
Okay.
The other question, for the purposes of this statute, rezoning requests would not be considered, or would they be considered a contested case?
Repeat your question again.
I'm sorry. Would rezoning requests be considered a quasi-judicial matter subject to the requirements that all parties give their consent to a virtual hearing?
Not the legislative rezonings, no. That would not require that you get the consent of all parties. Just those that are quasi-judicial, like a special use permit.
Right. That's okay. Just want to make sure that that distinction was retained. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie. All right, I would entertain a motion on this changes.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember Clark, seconded by Councilmember Adams and Councilmember Scipio. Any discussion? Go to the roll call. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, item G4, please.
Item G4, motion to add item G5, G6 to the agenda.
Councilmembers, this deals with the resolution I think that Councilmember Adams asked us to bring forward. And then the G6 is an item that I would like for y'all to consider tonight as well regarding committee assignments and the Mayor Pro Tem. So I would entertain a motion if you're in agreement to add these items to our agenda.
So moved.
Your second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, go to the roll call. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we'll go then to the newly added G5.
Item G5, resolution stating the city of Winston-Salem is essential and in support of fair, direct federal emergency support to reopen and rebuild local American economies.
Councilor Adams, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Again, thank the council and the mayor and the staff for all the work you've done to make sure that our message is communicated to our federal elected officials as well as our state elected officials. Many of you saw the letter that was penned in the Journal Sunday paper. That basically is the type of stories that our federal officials are looking from us to tell about why our city is essential. I think the letter was penned spot on, and I think as we move forward, as I've said before, we will be working collaboratively together as a council, our community partnerships, relationships, collaborations, to make sure our message is heard at the federal and state level so that our cities receive the funds that we need to have in order to be able to come back after this unfortunate virus.
Thank you, Councilor Adams. Any discussion? Would you like to go ahead and offer a motion, Councilor?
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Motion second. Any further discussion? All right, we go to the roll call. Councilmember Larson.
Absolutely, yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
And Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. Item G6.
Item G6, Mayor joins City Council committee assignments and Mayor Pro Tem recommendation.
Councilmembers, I've communicated with you regarding of course, the need. Unfortunately, we have to fill the Mayor Pro Tem position and a position on the Finance Committee. I have talked to all of you about this. Councilmember Adams has indicated her interest in serving in that position. I did talk to Councilmember Bessie and Councilmember Clark, who are our most senior in terms of years experience on the council, and they both have deferred to Councilmember Adams. Councilmember Adams has indicated that she was really only interested in serving this position until December when we reorganize the council following the election. So I would recommend to you the appointment of Councilmember Denise Dee Adams to serve as our Mayor Pro Tem until December. I would entertain a motion in that regard.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. In discussion. Go to the roll call. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
And Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Regarding the appointment to the Finance Committee, I'd like to recommend Councilmember Taylor to this position. He is chair of the Public Safety Committee, as is Councilmember Adams is chair of the General Government Committee. So it brings a certain amount of continuity there and ability for the chair of Public Safety to have his committee represented on the Finance Committee. Therefore, I would recommend the appointment of Councilmember Taylor to the Finance Committee.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember Bessie.
Yes, I just realized that belatedly I had not thought to check to see whether Councilmember Taylor would be also retaining a spot on the Public Works Committee, and we were effectively going to be asking him to serve on 3 committees simultaneously.
That's a good point, Councilmember Bessie. I think we would potentially don't want to overwork Councilmember Taylor, so we may have a vacant seat there on Public Works until we fill the Mayor Pro Tem's position here on the council for the Northeast Ward.
That's fine. Just wanted to have that clarified. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Councilmember Bessie. Good point. Going to the roll call, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes, and welcome to the Finance Committee, Mrs. Taylor.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Bessie.
Yes.
Councilmember Scipio.
Yes.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember McIntosh.
Aye.
And Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you. And thank you all, Council, for letting me bring that to you tonight. We now go to the public comment, which is a time once per month that City Council invites citizens to address it on matters that are germane to city government. We set aside 30 minutes for this, and we ask individuals to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Tonight, under the virtual meeting procedures, individuals have to call in advance and leave their message. We do have 3 messages tonight, and I'll call them and we'll hear their message. One of the callers, Ms. Summers, recorded 2 messages, and they were very, very similar, so we'll play the first one. Now we'll have to perhaps put the council on caution that Ms. Summers does use a racial epithet in that conversation, as well as some other things, so just be aware of that. The first person that we'll hear from, though, is Ms. Australia Smith.
Thank you, City Council. My name is Mrs. Australia Smith. My address is P.O. Box 104, Tobaccoville, North Carolina, 27050. And I am a citizen of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27105. I would like an answer for this question. My husband and I are seeking counsel on what is the process of appealing a decision from the Community Development Department that caused our family a financial burden. Thank you. Please address this issue.
And we will certainly have staff will follow up with her to get what the specifics of this situation is. The next person is Lisa Summers, the individual I mentioned to you previously.
Yes, my name is Lisa Summers. I was expecting a call from the mayor, but I never got a return call. I don't know what this city has been reduced to, but one thing I do know is that I am being bullied, I am being threatened, my whole life is being threatened by people running around here telling lies on me, by people doing whatever they feel like doing in this city without any retribution, without any morals, standards, or character. I've tried to contact the mayor to let him know what was going on, but I have no response. That is why right now that the community is so divided with the Winston-Salem Police Department, with policing, period. Because what has happened is this city has turned into a complete, total different place from where I grew up at. I have police bothering me. I have police telling me to go on Patterson Avenue like I'm some something out here in the street. I'm being refused help. I'm being refused help to get housing. I'm homeless. I'm a sick person, and I have to sit down somewhere. So what this city is doing is they're trying to blackball me, because the simple fact is I sued a man that hit me in my stomach, called me niggers, black pigs, and took my right arm and drug me across the store floor. His last words to me were, "You won't be able to get out of this one. You won't be able to talk your way out of this one." So now I'm being blackballed.
Looks like everybody's frozen except me.
People walking up to me aggressive.
I don't know why that is.
Demanding money because I won't give in to their demands. They steal my medicine and they get away with it. Bullet holes were shot through my house. All kinds of things have happened in this city, and your police officers are helping my abusers. So my thing to that is, sir, you need to get your city. You need to get this city under control, because it's really gotten out of control, and I am a victim. Everything is turned around. They run around here telling lies on me, trying to get me locked up. I've never seen such a mess in my whole entire life. But nobody cares to listen to what I have to say. Now, I have got to go another recourse. I am now talking to civil rights because my constitutional rights and my civil rights have been broken. My constitutional rights have been broken because I can't live in the pursuit of happiness because I have people going telling my boss different lies on me, getting me fired from jobs. I have people running around here trying to set me up to be robbed, taking my medicines. It's been one thing after another. Now they got businesses calling and trying to get when I'm sitting somewhere and I'm homeless because the city house of dwellers will not help me because they helping my abusers, the police helping my abusers, the sheriffs are helping my abusers. It is gotten out of control here. And I would appreciate if you can get your city under control. If someone would actually want to give me a call back, my phone number is 336-582-2207. I've been abused all my life, and I'm not going to continue to be abused at 54 years old. Now, the police can grab me if they want to. Civil rights is on the way here because they need to see about what's going on and investigate. No investigation has been done. They sweep me under the rug. Your officers are something else. Thank you.
Obviously, council members, that message was longer than 3 minutes. I think we'll probably do maybe a little stronger note on the recordings that message will be cut off after 3 minutes. But, since this is the first time we've had that, we played the entire thing. And I will certainly reach out to her, assuming we've got the right phone number there. The final person is Mr. Ghali Hassan.
At Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm here tonight before you, hoping to bring closure to an incident that started last year in reference to the city resurfacing contract. We were told as black contractors in this city, when a bond money was being passed, that, local minority contractors would benefit first from these bond projects. To date, that has not happened. And last year, at the same time, we had an issue of breaking out the structure adjustment part of the contract out simply for African American contractors. It was said then that that was the right thing to do. However, staff has elected, though we've been doing this now for over 4 to 5 years, that they want to present the specifications where it is now a formal bid rather than an informal bid. The formal bid requires a general contractor, performance bond, and a pay bond. An informal bid requires not a general contractor's license, nor does it require a payment or performance bond. So to selectively now say we want to use the formal bidding process, again, it's used to eliminate my wife's company, and again, the only one black female that you have pre-qualified and certified to do the work. We are also saying that at this juncture, to take it from one general contractor and give it to another defeats the purpose of which it was intended to be by allowing African American contractors to bid on the work. To get 5% of the work is what we've been getting for the last 26 years. And it needs to change, and it needs to change while we are in this state. All jobs are important, and to be eliminated based on staff's interpretation of
Thank you, Mr. Hassan. I believe, council members, we did get a detailed memorandum.
We did.
from Mr. Raleigh giving details about this. Would recognize Councilor Adams.
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, we've been down this road, and I appreciate it if staff, again, would set me up a meeting for me to understand, Mr. Garrity, where are we dropping the ball? Is it that we're not communicating effectively? Are we making sure that we're compliant to our orders and things that we are passing? And I'm not saying that we're not, but it always behooves me when we have people that continuously come back and say that we're not doing what we agreed to do. Again, the gentleman, Mr. Ali Hassan, he is right about every job right now is essential to families and livelihood. And I also would like to know where are we so far as our contracts are concerned? Are we staying current, and are we doing what we need to do during this unfortunate period? So I'll be looking to hear from Mr. Garrity in the morning as to a conversation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Adams.
Mayor.
Council members, anybody else have any comments tonight?
Yeah, just a quick comment from me, Mayor.
Councilor Taylor.
I've also been in communication with Mr. Hassan and Councilmember Adams. To your point, I certainly like to be included in that meeting. I have been briefed by staff on multiple occasions, and I just want to let Mr. Hassan know we're hearing him loud and clear, and we'll do what we can, not only to support his businesses, but women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and all businesses in the city, and we won't stop until we get it right.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. Anybody else? Any council members?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to be included on that conversation also.
Okay, Councilor Scipio.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be careful we don't have a breaking the open
A
meetings.
quorum. Yeah.
We're good.
All right, cool. All right, unless there are other comments, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all. Stay safe.